She was abandoned by the millionaire who never knew she was pregnant. 18 years later. She gets a call that changes everything. Leora. I think the girl you've been raising all these years, she's mine. Those were the first words. No greeting. No apology. No hesitation. Just a sentence that sliced straight through 18 years of silence like a blade. The kind of sentence that makes your breath stop mid-inhale. The kind that forces you to sit down, even though your legs haven't agreed yet. And that is exactly where our story begins. Don't you dare, Leora whispered into the dimly lit kitchen. She gripped the corner of the counter so tightly her knuckles whitened. Her voice trembled, but it trembled with fury, not fear. Don't you dare say something like that to me. Leora, listen to me. Arlen's voice cracked through the line. Rough. Older. And far too familiar. I think we have a daughter. You don't think, she hissed. You left. You vanished. You disappeared off the face of the earth like a gust of wind that never bothered to look back. You don't get to call me 18 years later and start a sentence with, I think. Please, just hear me. I've heard enough. She almost hung up right then. And if you, watching this, have ever had someone reappear after years of silence. Someone who once broke you so deeply that your pieces had to learn how to live without the missing parts, you know exactly what she felt. That numbness. That heat. That disbelief. That urge to scream and the urge to collapse at the same time. If you've ever been abandoned, betrayed, or left carrying consequences someone else ran from, just hold on. Stay with me. Because this story is going to pull something out of you. And before we move on, take a second and drop in the comments. What would you do if someone reappeared years later claiming rights to a child they never knew? I'm curious. And trust me, this story is going to make you think deeply about your answer. Now, let's continue. For a moment, all Leora could hear was static. Then Arlen breathed out, a long, shaky exhale that carried more regret than explanation. I saw her today, he said. I didn't know who she was at first. But when she walked onto that stage at the scholarship ceremony, I swear it felt like someone slammed the air out of my chest. You didn't know who she was? Leora scoffed. Of course you didn't. You didn't know anything. You didn't stay long enough to know anything. She looks like me, Leora, he whispered. God, she looks like me. Leora froze. And that moment, those exact words, pulled her backward through time, all the way to the summer when everything changed. But she wasn't going to let him drag her into memory. Not yet. Not tonight. She isn't yours, Leora said sharply, even though her voice faltered. She's mine. Mine alone. Every scraped knee. Every birthday. Every sleepless night. Every moment you missed because you weren't there to miss it. You don't get to claim her with a single sentence. She said her mother runs a catering business called Sunrise Plates. Leora felt the world tilt. She laughed, he continued. And I swear, it was your laugh. Her heart started pounding harder. She mentioned her name, he whispered. Nova. Everything inside Leora stopped moving. If you're watching this right now, breathe. Because this is the moment the story tightens. This is the moment everything begins to unravel. Nova. Her daughter's name. The name she had whispered to herself in hospital rooms, in cramped apartments, in late-night shifts when exhaustion made her eyes blur. The name she loved more than any other. That doesn't mean anything, Leora finally whispered. People share names. And faces? Arlen's voice shook. Do they share faces too, Leora? Because that girl, she looked like me when I was 17. Exactly like me. I don't care what you think you saw. Then tell me the truth, he begged. Do we have a child together? There are moments in life when the truth feels heavier than any object you could lift. And standing in her kitchen with garlic still lingering in the air from her orders earlier, Leora felt the weight of every heartbeat she had lived without him. You don't get to ask me that, she whispered. Not after what you did. Please. His voice broke. Please, Leora. I didn't know. I swear to you. I didn't know. Because you left before you could. Silence. Thick. Heavy. Arlen inhaled shakily. If she's mine, I've already failed her for 18 years. And I don't know how to live with that unless I try to make it right. Leora laughed bitterly. A laugh so small and so wounded it didn't sound like laughter at all. You can't make it right, she said. You can't fix 18 years with a phone call. I know. Do you? Leora snapped. Do you really? Because while you were traveling the world, signing contracts, smiling in business magazines, I was working 2 jobs to buy school shoes. I was warming her hands with my own when the heater broke in winter. I was the one watching her breathe at night because I was terrified of every little fever. You weren't there. You weren't anywhere. Leora. No. Just listen to me. She swallowed hard. I am her mother. I raised her. I protected her. I sacrificed everything for her. And now you want to step in with a guilty conscience and rewrite the story? That's not. Yes, it is. Her voice cracked. It is exactly that. A long pause followed. If you're listening, let me ask you something. What do you think is harder? Raising a child alone? Or facing the person who abandoned you when you needed them the most? Think about that. And while you do, like this video if you're still with us. It helps a lot. And it lets us keep telling stories that matter. Now hold tight. There's more. The refrigerator hummed quietly in the background as Leora closed her eyes. She pressed a shaking hand against her chest to steady herself. Where are you? She eventually asked, her voice resigned. Right now. In my office downtown. Why are you calling me? Because I want to do the right thing, he whispered. For once. She didn't respond. And then, in a tone so soft it almost didn't pass through the phone. I want to meet her. Leora's breath caught. No. Absolutely not. Leora, please. You think you can just walk into her life and introduce yourself? As what? As who? The man who abandoned her pregnant mother and went off to play billionaire prince. That's not fair. You know what wasn't fair, she shot back. Being 20 years old, standing in a clinic bathroom, staring at 2 blue lines while trying to remember how to breathe. That wasn't fair. But I did it. I lived it. You didn't. I'm sorry. That means nothing to me. More silence. Where can we meet? Arlen finally asked, voice low. Leora hesitated. Her heart wanted to hang up. Her mind wanted to scream. Her past wanted to run. But her daughter deserved the truth. Even if that truth hurt. Tomorrow, she said. 4 p.m. The old pier. Where the food trucks park now. I'll be there. You come alone, she warned. If I see a camera, or a security guard, or one of your assistants lurking around, if I see anything that looks like your world touching mine. This conversation ends forever. I'll be alone. And you tell no one, Leora whispered. Especially not the press. She is not a headline. She is not a scandal. She's my daughter. There was a long, trembling silence. Okay, he said quietly. I promise. She didn't believe promises. Not anymore. She hung up without another word. Then she sank to the floor. For a moment, there was nothing but her heartbeat. Loud. Relentless. Terrified. And just like that. 18 years of buried memories clawed their way to the surface. The last summer before everything broke. It tasted like sea salt. And burnt sugar. And the kind of hope you're too young to realize is dangerous. It was the summer she met Arlen Cade. And here is where the story folds backward. Back to the golden elevator doors. Back to the scuffed housekeeping cart. Back to the girl she once was. Back to the man she never thought she would see again. Back to the beginning. The hotel sat on the edge of the bay. Its glass walls caught the sunset like polished mirrors. Leora remembered it perfectly, every smell, every sound. Bleach on the floors. The buzz of the laundry machines. The air-conditioned coldness of the upper floors. The warmth of the lower ones. She was 20. She was tired. She was determined. Dreams did not come easy for girls like her. They had to be fought for. Scrubbed for. Saved for. She pushed her housekeeping cart down the hallway. Fresh sheets. New towels. A list of rooms she had memorized. When her supervisor called, "Penthouse again, Wells," she sighed. "Don't wrinkle the duvet this time," the woman warned. "She notices." "She notices everything," Leora muttered under her breath. She took the elevator up. The penthouse hallway was quiet. Carpet thicker. Lights warmer. Everything felt too expensive to breathe around. She knocked gently. "Housekeeping. Turn down service." No answer. She swiped her keycard and stepped inside. The room was bigger than her entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows. A jacket draped over a chair. A half-finished glass of something pale gold. And on the balcony. A man. He leaned over the railing, staring at the dark water as if waiting for it to swallow him whole. Leora said softly. "I'm sorry. They told me you weren't going out tonight. I can come back." He turned slowly. And Leora's breath caught. Not because he was model handsome, he wasn't. He looked human. Rough edges. Crooked nose. Eyes a deep storm gray that held shadows. "Stay," he said quietly. His voice caught her off guard. It wasn't arrogant. It was tired. Like someone who hadn't slept in days. "I'm not supposed to bother guests," she said cautiously. "I'll just turn down the bed." "Have you ever tried sleeping in a bed someone else makes for you?" he asked, stepping inside. "Feels like being tucked in by a stranger. Like you're a child, but the person tucking you in doesn't care if you wake up." "That's oddly specific." He shrugged. Long week. As she worked, he watched her, not in a predatory way, but in a curious one. As if she was the first real person he had spoken to all day. "You're the penthouse guest with the impossible crisp lines," she said lightly, smoothing the duvet. "Housekeeping fears you'll start measuring sheet corners." He actually laughed. The sound was warm, real. "Do they?" he asked. "That seems fair." "You're not the worst," she smirked. "We had a lady last month who threw a lamp because her pillow chocolate was dark instead of milk." "I'd throw a lamp for dark chocolate," he said. "Seems reasonable." She glanced up at him, amused. "What did you do to be so important they put you here?" she asked. His smile faded a little. "My family owns the company that owns this hotel," he said. "I'm Arlen." Her stomach dropped. "You're my boss." "Technically." He rubbed the back of his neck. "But mostly I just show up and try not to ruin anything." She shouldn't have stayed. She knew that. Housekeepers were supposed to be invisible. But when he said, "Please, Don't go yet, something inside her paused. 5 minutes, she said softly. And 5 minutes became 5 weeks. Their stolen conversations. Their laughter. Their quiet moments in hallways. The careless, beautiful way he looked at her. The dangerous way she started to look back. From shared sandwiches during rainstorms. To whispered dreams under hotel ceilings. To one impulsive kiss that turned into many. They fell. Hard. And if you're still listening right now, take a breath. Drop a comment if the story is gripping you so far. Because what happens next, you don't want to miss it. But nothing beautiful stays untouched forever. His father found out. Threatened. Demanded. Ordered. And Arlen obeyed. One morning, he was gone. A note on the bed. A car waiting downstairs. A plane ticket in his pocket. He left. Just like that. Fast forward 3 weeks. Leora stood in a clinic bathroom, staring at a positive pregnancy test with trembling hands. She thought of telling him. For one night. One long, sleepless night. Then she imagined walking into his world where she didn't belong. No. She whispered to her unborn child, "It's just you and me now." And she meant it. That summer collapsed. Dreams collapsed. And Leora learned how to patch her life together without him. But life has a way of circling back. And now, 18 years later. He was back. Asking questions he should never have had the right to ask. The next day, the pier waited. And that meeting. That confrontation. That moment where everything shifted again. If you're still here with me, like this video and subscribe. It helps more than you know. The sun leaned low over the water, stretching shadows across the wooden planks of the pier. The smell of fried fish mixed with the sweetness drifting from the churro stand. Children screamed happily somewhere near the food trucks. A busker strummed soft guitar chords that floated on the breeze. But for Leora, the world felt muted. Dimmed. Off balance. This wasn't just another afternoon. This wasn't just another walk to clear her head. This was the moment she had spent 18 years praying she would never have to face. The moment she would come face to face with the man who had once held her heart like treasure, then dropped it like glass. She tucked her hands into the pockets of her worn jean jacket. Her breath curled in the cool air. She glanced at her phone. 4 o'clock was seconds away. He wasn't here yet. She tried to tell herself she didn't care. That if he didn't show up, it would be easier. Cleaner. But her chest didn't agree. Something inside her tightened with every passing second. Then footsteps slowed behind her. "I was afraid you wouldn't come." She turned. And there he stood. Arlen Cade. Not the boy she had loved 18 years ago. Not the image she had stitched together from memories. Not the ghost she had cursed in the dark. The man. Older. Sharper. Weathered. Still unmistakably him. He wore a simple black t-shirt and jeans. No expensive suit. No tie. But he still looked like himself, like the world was used to moving out of his way. Time had changed him, but not completely. His hair was cut shorter now, streaked with silver near his temples. Faint lines sat at the corners of his eyes, evidence of nights he probably didn't sleep. His shoulders looked heavier, as if carrying something he couldn't set down. But the eyes were the same storm gray she remembered. The ones that once looked at her like she was the only steady thing in a world full of expectations. She straightened. "You're late," she said. He exhaled a breath that was half a laugh, half disbelief. "Some things never change, you always keep score." "I don't have the luxury of not keeping score," she said. "Time costs me more than it costs you." He flinched. "Good. Thank you for meeting me, he said. You're welcome, she replied coldly. But don't mistake this for goodwill. I'm here because my daughter deserves to know why her life might get turned upside down. Arlen opened his mouth. Then closed it again. He looked nervous. She wasn't used to seeing that. Can we walk? He asked. No, she said. We talk right here. I want the water between us and the city. Less chance someone recognizes you. He nodded. All right. He stepped closer. Only one step. Not enough to reach her. But enough to show he was present. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Arlen swallowed hard. I didn't disappear because I wanted to. Leora laughed without humor. That's what every coward says. He nodded slowly, accepting it. You're right. I was a coward. And I deserve that. You deserve a lot more than that. I know. A long silence stretched. I read your letter, Leora said. The one you left on the bed like a tip. He shut his eyes briefly, pained. I'm sorry for that. Your apology doesn't change the fact that it happened. You're right again. Stop agreeing with me, she snapped. It's irritating. He huffed a small, self-deprecating laugh. Noted. She didn't smile back. She couldn't. Why did you call me? She asked. Why now, after all this time? And don't say it's because you saw some girl who looks like you. That's the surface answer. I want the real one. All right, he said quietly. You deserve the truth. He moved to the railing, gripping it with both hands. The breeze ruffled his hair. He didn't speak right away. And the pause made her heartbeat thrum faster. 18 years ago, he finally said, I didn't leave because I stopped caring about you. Then why did you? Because my father found out about us. Leora stiffened. He told me you were a liability. A threat to the Cade image. A distraction. Leora scoffed. I was a housekeeping intern, Arlen. Not a threat. Not a scandal. Just a girl washing sheets. He didn't care. He said if I didn't end things immediately, he'd destroy you. Destroy me how? She demanded. Arlen turned. His expression was haunted. He threatened to smear your name across every paper in the city. Said he would frame you for stealing from the guests. Said he'd have you blacklisted from every hotel chain he owned. Said he would make sure your family lost their apartment. He told me he'd ruin your life so completely you would never recover. Leora felt nausea rise. He fired you, Arlen whispered. The day I left. I found out 3 months later. He told the manager to write you up for breaking hotel policy. Leora's hands curled into fists. That bastard, she hissed. Arlen nodded, jaw clenched. I confronted him. I was ready to walk away from everything. But he told me something that broke me. He said, if you think that maid girl matters, then I haven't raised you properly. But don't worry, I can fix that. And I listened. I let him get into my head. I let him convince me I couldn't protect you. You believed him, she whispered bitterly. I was 23, he said. I had never stood on my own 2 feet. Every dollar I had was tied to him. Every job. Every future plan. I didn't know who I was without the Cade name. And he knew that. So you ran, Leora spat. Instead of fighting for me. I regret it every day. Leora swallowed hard. You should. He didn't argue. She took a shaky breath. You weren't the one he ruined. I was. I lost my job. I lost my home. I lost everything. And I'm so sorry, he whispered. I swear, if I could take back what he did. You can't, she cut in. You can't rewrite the past. No, he admitted. But I can stop hiding from it. She stared at him. And for a moment, just a moment, she saw the boy he used to be. The boy who laughed in service corridors. The boy who kissed her with trembling hands. The boy who stared at her like she was the only quiet place in his world. She shoved that memory away. You still haven't answered the real question, she said. Why call me now? He looked out over the water. My father died last year. Leora blinked. He collapsed during a board meeting, Arlen continued. Heart failure. It was quick. Was it? She asked quietly. Arlen's jaw tightened. No. It wasn't. At the funeral, they listed his achievements. The businesses. The properties. People clapped. They actually clapped. And all I could think was, there isn't one person in this room who knows who he was. He looked at her, eyes raw. I don't want to die like that. I don't want my legacy to be buildings. I want someone to say, he loved us well. And there's only one place in my life where that might still be possible. Leora's breath hitched. Don't put that weight on her, she warned. On our daughter. I'm not, he said. I'm putting it on myself. Our daughter. The words slid from his mouth like a prayer he wasn't sure he was allowed to say. Leora turned away, blinking back heat. You can't just show up and expect me to hand her over, she whispered. She isn't a prize. She isn't a missing heir. She's my child. She's mine too, he said quietly. You didn't earn that, she snapped. No, he said. But maybe I can start. She shook her head. You don't know her, she said. You don't know anything about her. You weren't there when she drew her first breath. You weren't there when she scraped her knee and needed stitches. You weren't there when she said her first word. When she got suspended. When she won her art contest. When she started talking about scholarships. You missed everything. I know. She thinks the world is small and beautiful because I made it that way, she continued. She thinks hope is safe. She thinks dreams are worth chasing. And you, Leora's voice broke. You could crush all of that without even meaning to. Arlen swallowed. I don't want to hurt her. You already did, Leora whispered. Before she was even born. The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. Leora, he said gently. I want to know her. You want, she repeated. That's a luxury. He nodded. Then what do you want? She froze. No one had asked her that in a long, long time. I want you to understand something, she finally said. She's not an accessory to your redemption arc. She's not a storyline to clean up your image. She's not a missing puzzle piece to make you feel like a better man. I know. No, you don't. But you will. Arlen clasped his hands. Tell me how. Whatever it takes, Leora. I'll do it. She almost laughed. You think this is something you can fix with effort? You think fatherhood is a checklist? No, he said softly. But I think loving someone means showing up. Even when you're terrified. She stilled. He took a small step closer. What is she like? He asked. Please. Tell me. Leora hesitated. She's stubborn, she said. Once she cares about something, she will walk through walls for it. He smiled faintly. Sounds familiar. She likes art, Leora continued. She draws everywhere. On receipts. On napkins. On homework. She makes these incredible faces out of nothing but pencil strokes. That's beautiful. She has my laugh, Leora said reluctantly. But she looks like you. Something flickered across his face. Awe. Fear. Hope. Regret. I want to meet her, he said again. But only if she wants to meet me. I won't force myself into her life. Leora nodded slowly. I need time, she said. A week. I'll tell her myself. Thank you. And if she doesn't want to meet you? I'll respect that, he said. I'll stay away. Forever, Leora clarified. He swallowed. Yes. Forever. She turned to go. Leora, he called softly. She paused. I'm sorry I left, he whispered. Truly. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just owning it. For a moment, just a moment, she saw the edges of a man he could have been. The man he still might become. But she wasn't ready for that thought. Not yet. Goodbye, Arlen, she said. She walked away without looking back. But Arlen stayed rooted to the pier long after she disappeared from sight. Hands in his pockets. Eyes on the water. A man standing at the edge of a past he had spent 18 years trying to outrun. And somewhere across the city, a girl named Nova was about to learn a truth that would change everything. Now before we continue, if this story has you hooked, take a second to like this video. And subscribe if you want to follow every twist of this emotional journey. And drop a comment telling us what you think Nova will do when she finds out the truth. Alright. Let's continue. The truth wasn't a single sentence. It was a demolition. A slow one. Painful. Necessary. It began that evening, when Nova walked into their small apartment smelling like art studio paint and library dust. Her backpack slung over one shoulder. Headphones around her neck. Hair pulled into a messy bun the way she always did when she concentrated too long. Mom, she said, kicking off her shoes. You look like you fought the sun and lost. Are you okay? Sit down, Leora said. Nova froze. That is a terrifying sentence. Did someone die? Did I fail something? Are we getting evicted? No. Just sit. Nova sat slowly at the kitchen table. Okay. But your tone is giving serious movie moment and I'm not sure I'm prepared. Leora took a breath. This is about your father. Nova blinked. My what? Leora nodded. You told me he wasn't in the picture, Nova said carefully. Like, at all. He wasn't, Leora said softly. Not because he chose not to be. But because he didn't know. Nova frowned. Didn't know what? That I was pregnant. Nova stared. Silence stretched. I think I need water, Nova said finally. Or sugar. Or possibly both. Nova. Wait, Nova said, holding up a hand. Are you telling me my father exists as in, an actual human man walking around the world? Yes. With a name and everything? Yes. Does he have, like, fingers? Nova. Okay, okay. She dragged her hands down her face. Who is he? Leora breathed in. His name is Arlen Cade. Nova froze. No, she said flatly. No. No, absolutely not. Yes, Leora whispered. You're lying. I'm not. Nova stood so fast her chair screeched across the floor. Mom. MOM. Do you hear yourself? Arlen Cade. The Arlen Cade. The billionaire guy. The scholarship guy. The man whose last name is on half the buildings downtown. That guy. Yes. That's my father. Yes. Nova put a hand on her chest like her heart was trying to escape. I think I'm having an allergic reaction, she whispered. To existence. Leora stepped closer. Sit down. Nova didn't. She paced. This is insane, she muttered. Absolutely insane. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't want his world touching you, Leora said. I didn't want you googling headlines instead of knowing the real story. Nova stopped pacing. Her eyes softened. What happened to him? She asked quietly. Why wasn't he here? He left before I knew I was pregnant, Leora said. And when I learned what his father threatened. I knew going to him would destroy everything. Did he know about me? No. Nova sagged in relief. Okay, she whispered. Okay. That's something. He knows now. Nova snapped her head up. What? How? He saw you at the scholarship event, Leora said. He recognized you. He called me. He called you. Nova repeated slowly. And you answered. Yes. Are you okay? Did you hit your head? Did you fall down the stairs? Nova. Because this is not mom behavior. Nova. Are we in a simulation? Am I being pranked? Is there a camera? Nova. She stopped. He wants to meet you, Leora said softly. Nova went still. All expression drained from her face. Do you want to meet him? Leora asked. Nova stared down at her hands. Her voice trembled. I don't know. You don't have to, Leora said quickly. If you say no, I'll call him and tell him to stay away. Nova's eyes lifted. Her voice was small. What if I want to know who he is? She whispered. Not because he deserves it, but because I do. Leora's throat tightened. I'll support whatever you choose, she said. Nova nodded slowly. Okay, she whispered. Then I want to meet him. One time. With you there. Leora exhaled. And that decision. That single sentence. Would change the course of all their lives. Into the moment Nova meets her father for the first time. A moment that will tear open truths none of them were prepared for. If you're still with me, drop a comment saying, ready. And subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. The hotel lobby was colder than Nova expected. She stood just inside the entrance, her fingers twisting the strap of her backpack. The new chandeliers glowed softly overhead. The marble floor shone like still water. The air smelled faintly of jasmine and expensive furniture polish. People in tailored clothes passed by her without noticing. Bellhops moved luggage carts. A couple laughed near the elevator. Everything and everyone looked too polished. Too perfect. Except Nova. Her hoodie was oversized. Her shoes scuffed. Paint stains dotted her jeans. And she felt like she'd walked into a world that didn't have a single place meant for someone like her. Her mother stood beside her, calm on the outside, but Nova could see the tension in her shoulders. The slight pinch between her eyebrows. The way her jaw clenched every few breaths. Are you sure? Leora whispered. Nova swallowed hard. No, she admitted. But I'm doing it anyway. Leora nodded gently. All right, she said. He said he'd be waiting somewhere near the armchairs. Nova's heart thumped painfully. Then she saw him. He was standing near a cluster of charcoal gray chairs, hands clasped in front of him, shoulders tense. His head tilted slightly as he scanned the lobby, as if terrified to miss the moment they appeared. He looked nervous. Is that him? Nova whispered. Leora nodded slowly. Yes. Nova blinked. He looks shorter than I expected. He's the same height as always, Leora murmured. You're just seeing him close. He hadn't seen them yet. But when he finally did, when his eyes landed on the two of them, Leora's guarded stance, Nova's hesitant steps, his entire face shifted. Something like awe flickered across it. And fear. And hope. He took one step forward. Then stopped himself, as if afraid to cross a line he wasn't sure he was allowed to approach. Nova's breath hitched. He looked nothing like the glossy photos she'd seen on magazine covers. Those pictures were all angles and lighting and suits costing more than their apartment's annual rent. This man had stubble on his jaw. Wrinkles deepening when he smiled, if he dared to smile. Hair that fell slightly out of place. Ink stains on his fingers. A slight tremor in his hands. He didn't look like a billionaire. He looked like a person. Her person? She wasn't sure. "Hi," Nova said softly. The word came out smaller than she intended, but she didn't take it back. She clutched the strap of her backpack with both hands. Arlen swallowed. "Hi," he said, voice cracking slightly. "You must be Nova." "I mean, unless there's another girl you might have abandoned by accident," she said. Leora sucked in a sharp breath. "Nova." But Arlen didn't get angry. Didn't flinch away. Instead, something that might have been a pained smile appeared. "No," he said quietly. "There's only you." Nova sank into the nearest chair. Her knees felt weak. Leora sat beside her, close enough that their shoulders brushed. Arlen took the seat across from them, keeping the distance respectful. For a moment, no one spoke. Nova bit her bottom lip. She had rehearsed a dozen opening lines. A dozen questions. A dozen accusations. But now that he was sitting right in front of her, none of them wanted to come out. So she said the first thing that made sense. "You talk funny." Arlen blinked. "Funny? Like you swallowed a book," she said. And then tried to apologize to it. Leora covered her mouth, trying not to laugh. Arlen cleared his throat. I can work on that." "You should," she said, crossing her arms. "It's weird." He nodded solemnly. "Noted." Silence fell again. Not awkward, but thick. Like they were all stepping carefully. "Can I ask you something?" Nova said suddenly. "Anything," Arlen replied. "You knew kids exist, right?" He blinked again. "Excuse me?" "I'm asking," she said. "You knew that people can make kids? And the kids continue existing?" Leora pinched the bridge of her nose. "Nova, please." "I just want to check," Nova said. "Because you left my mother and did it not cross your mind that something might happen?" Arlen let out a slow breath. "It crossed my mind every day." Nova tilted her head. "You didn't do anything about it." "No," he admitted softly. "I didn't. And that's on me. All of it." Nova didn't say anything. But her foot tapped nervously against the floor. Arlen glanced at Leora. "Can I ask her something?" Leora folded her arms. "Depends on the question." Arlen nodded and turned to Nova. His voice gentled, softened. "What did she tell you about me?" he asked. Nova took a breath. "When I was younger," she said, "I asked a lot. Kids ask everything. She always said the same thing. That my father was a boy who hadn't learned how to be a man yet." Arlen closed his eyes briefly. "She said you made a selfish choice based on fear. That you didn't know I existed. And that I wasn't your mistake. I was her decision." Arlen opened his eyes. They were wet. "She was right," he whispered. "About all of it." Nova watched him carefully. She didn't smile. Didn't soften. But she listened. "Okay," she said quietly. "Now it's my turn." Arlen nodded. I'm listening. Nova leaned forward slightly. I'm not going to scream at you, she said. I already did that in my head. A lot. Like, a lot. He nodded. I'm not going to throw anything either, she added. Because this hotel probably charges you if you chip a table. Arlen's mouth twitched. Good guess, he murmured. Yeah, Nova sighed. So instead, I'm going to tell you 3 things. The rules. If you want to be anything to me, you follow them. Alright, Arlen said quietly. What are they? Nova lifted a finger. 1. No trying to buy me. Arlen nodded immediately. No cars, no fancy gadgets, no stupid private school nonsense, she said. If you want to help with tuition later, we can argue about that, because I know Mom won't take your money easily. But no surprise rich people gifts. Understood, he said. 2. She held up the next finger. Tell the truth. Always. Even when it makes you look bad. Especially when it makes you look bad. No, it's complicated. No excuses. You do that, it's complicated thing with me. I'm out. Arlen straightened. No excuses. I promise. And 3. She held up her last finger. My mom comes first. Always. If she draws a line, you stay behind it. Leora inhaled sharply. Arlen didn't hesitate. I understand. Good, Nova said, leaning back. Then we can try coffee sometime. Not today. Not tomorrow. But sometime. Somewhere not fancy. I need to see how you act around baristas before I start dealing with deeper daddy issues. Arlen let out a soft, stunned laugh. That's fair. Nova nodded firmly. One more thing. He waited. You messed up, she said softly. And that's not changing. It's always going to be part of the story. But you showing up now, that means something too. And that right there, those words, were the first tether between them. Thin. Fragile. But real. Arlen looked down at his hands. Thank you, he whispered. For giving me even this much. Nova shrugged. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me. I don't want strangers telling me who my father is. I want the truth from the source. Leora swallowed. Nova had repeated her own teaching back to her. If you don't tell your story, someone who benefits from your silence will tell it wrong. Arlen nodded slowly. Would you? He hesitated, unsure. Would you tell me something about yourself? Anything. I want to know you. Not just the version I saw on a stage. Nova paused. Then said, okay. I like art. I know, he said. Nova frowned. How? He smiled gently. You had pencil smudges on your hands at the scholarship event. And your backpack was covered in paint stains. Nova narrowed her eyes. That's creepy. Arlen's eyes widened. No, I mean, I wasn't. Leora snorted. Calm down. She's teasing you. Arlen deflated. Oh. Right. Nova tried not to smile. She wasn't ready for him. Not fully. Not yet. But she wasn't running. And for Arlen, that was enough. Do you want to ask me anything? Nova said. Arlen hesitated. Yes. But I don't want to overwhelm you. Nova rolled her eyes. Just ask. What was your first word? Mom says it was no. Arlen smiled. Of course it was. And then mine, she added. He actually choked on a laugh. Definitely my daughter. Leora elbowed him. Don't say that like it's a good thing. Nova suppressed a grin. It is, though. Do you want to know anything about me? Arlen asked softly. Nova tapped her fingers against her knee. Yeah, she said finally. Why scholarships? You could have put your name on a stadium. Arlen's expression softened. When I took over the family company, he said, I realized we'd spent decades building things that people from neighborhoods like yours could never enter. Towers. Resorts. Clubs. All inaccessible. Nova listened intently. I thought about the people who worked in those places, Arlen continued. The kids they were trying to raise. The opportunities they didn't get. I wanted to change that. Even a little. Scholarships were the first thing that made sense. And did you feel guilty? Nova asked quietly. Arlen didn't lie. Yes, he whispered. I felt guilty. I still do. But you earned that scholarship on your own. I had no idea who you were when your name came across my desk. Nova nodded slowly. Then she asked the question that lodged in her throat, the one she had been afraid to voice. Do you regret not being there? Arlen's breath shuddered. Yes, he said. Every day. Every single day. I regret it. Nova looked down. And then. She whispered, okay. Leora blinked. Okay. Yeah, Nova said. Okay. That's what I needed to hear. Arlen's shoulders sagged with relief. And just like that, the first meeting was over. But none of them wanted to be the first to stand. Finally, Nova exhaled. I need air. They walked outside together. The city lights flickered against the evening sky. People passed. Cars honked. But the three of them stood at the edge of the sidewalk like they were the only ones who knew the world had shifted. Arlen looked at Leora. Thank you, he said quietly. This isn't forgiveness, she warned. I know. This isn't a second chance. Not yet. I know. But she's giving you something, Leora said. Don't break it. I won't, he whispered. Nova shoved her hands in her pockets. So, coffee next week? Arlen smiled, eyes shining. I'd like that. Don't make it weird, she said. I won't. And don't be late. I won't. And don't order something obnoxiously fancy. I won't. And don't. Nova, he said gently. I won't. She nodded once. Good. Then they parted ways. But nothing was the same. Everything had changed. Now before we continue, if this story is grabbing your heart, like this video right now. And subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. And tell us in the comments. Do you think Nova should give Arlen more chances? Alright. Let's continue. 1 week later, Nova chose a small cafe. Not expensive. Not glamorous. Slightly cramped. With a chalkboard menu and chipped mugs. Arlen arrived early. He stood by the counter, fidgeting with a pack of sugar. When Nova walked in, he straightened like someone had just plugged him into a socket. You came, she said. I said I would. She studied him. Good. Don't break that streak. They ordered. He tried to hand the barista his card out of habit, but caught himself and pulled out crumpled cash instead. Nova raised an eyebrow. Trying to look relatable. No, he said. Just, trying. She sniffed. Okay. Keep trying. And he did. He listened when she spoke. He asked questions that weren't shallow. He didn't try to impress her. He didn't talk over her. He was nervous. Awkward. Surprisingly funny. And for the first time, Nova saw glimpses of a man who truly wanted to be someone worth knowing. They met again next week. And the week after that. And again. And again. Leora didn't join them. Not at the cafe. But she watched from afar. Watched their hesitations become laughter. Watched their distance shrink into something cautious but real. And slowly, she realized something. Arlen wasn't faking this. He wasn't performing. He wasn't chasing redemption. He was changing. Not in a dramatic way. Not in a movie montage way. But in the quiet, consistent way people change when they're trying to be better, not for applause, not for image, but for the people they love. And Leora wasn't sure what to do with that. She had built walls around herself so thick she couldn't see over them. Walls that had protected her for 18 years. Walls that told her she didn't need him. Walls that insisted any softness toward him would be a betrayal of herself. But watching Nova smile, laugh, grow lighter. The walls began to crack. Not fall. Not crumble. Just, crack. One night, Nova came home beaming. "He came to my art show," she said breathlessly. "What?" Leora blinked. "When?" "Today." Nova said. "He stayed for 2 whole hours. He bought one of my pieces." "He bought, what?" "Which one?" "The one with the broken plates," Nova said. "He said he's hanging it in his bedroom." Leora frowned. "Why his bedroom?" "I asked him that too," Nova laughed. "He said it's the first thing he wants to see in the morning." Leora's heart tightened. That wasn't a billionaire answer. That was a father answer. And that terrified her. Because if he had stayed the same arrogant rich boy he'd once been, hating him would be easy. But this man learning humility. Learning consistency. Learning fatherhood. Learning to listen. Learning who Nova was. This man was harder to hate. But easier to love. And that scared her more than anything. 3 months passed before anything went wrong. 3 months of quiet meetings. 3 months of learning each other's rhythms. 3 months of Nova slowly warming to the idea of having 2 parents instead of 1. 3 months of Arlen showing up the same way the sunrise did, early, steady, predictable, gentle. And then it happened. A single flash. Then 2. Then 10. Nova froze mid-step outside the cafe, latte in hand, as cameras clicked rapidly. The sidewalk erupted in questions. Voices rose around her like a swarm. "Mr. Cade, is this your daughter? Arlen, are you confirming paternity? Is the mother going to make a statement? Is this why you increased philanthropy funding? Is this hush money related? Is she the reason you cancelled the board meeting last week? What's her name? What school does she go to? Is she the hidden Cade heir?" Arlen instinctively stepped in front of her, shielding her from the crush of bodies. "Back up," he said sharply. "Move. Give her space." But they didn't listen. They pushed. They angled their cameras from every direction. Each flash made Nova shrink a little more. "Stop," she shouted, voice cracking. She dropped her latte. It splattered across the pavement. She covered her ears with both hands. "Please stop." And then Leora appeared, breathless, frantic, eyes wild. She grabbed Nova into her arms and pulled her close, shielding her body with her own. "That's enough." Leora snapped. "She is a minor. You do not get to harass a minor." The cameras only clicked faster. Arlen turned, rage lighting through him. His voice cut through the chaos like a knife. "Every single one of you will back away right now," he commanded. "You will leave this street. If you don't step back immediately, I will sue all of you individually, your agencies, and the publications you work for. They hesitated, but only for a heartbeat, before stepping back, muttering, still filming. Leora grabbed Nova's hand. We're leaving. Nova's lips trembled. She wasn't crying, but her eyes were wide and glassy, like a startled deer still waiting for danger to reappear. Arlen reached for her. Nova. She jerked back. No, she whispered. Don't touch me. Not right now. Her voice cracked in a way that gutted him. Leora glared at him like fire. This is exactly why I didn't want your world touching her. I didn't tell anyone, Arlen said desperately. I swear I didn't. Well, someone saw, Leora said. And someone talked. And now she's a headline waiting to happen. Nova tugged at Leora's sleeve. Mom, can we go home? Please. Leora nodded immediately. Yes. We're going. They started walking away. Arlen followed. Wait, please. Leora spun around. Arlen. Stop. Her voice was steady but shaking with fury. You said you would protect her. You said you would keep this quiet. And look at her. Look at what just happened. Arlen's chest tightened painfully. Let me fix this. You can't fix everything with money or threats, Leora snapped. This isn't a boardroom. This is her life. I know that, he said. I know. And I'll do whatever it takes to make sure this never happens again. Leora shook her head slowly. I trusted you. That sentence should not have hurt him as much as it did. But it did. Deeply. Let me come with you, he pleaded. Let me help. You've done enough, she said. Go home, Arlen. He froze. Please, Leora whispered without looking back. Just, go. Nova didn't say anything. Not a single word. She just held her mother's hand tightly and walked away. Arlen watched them leave, his heart breaking quietly. He didn't go home. He stayed on that sidewalk long after the cameras had vanished, long after the sun dipped behind the buildings, long after the crowd dispersed. He stayed because walking away felt like giving up. And he had given up enough in his life already. But Leora's words echoed in his ears. You've done enough. He didn't sleep that night. Neither did Nova. Leora heard her tossing in her room. Heard her pacing. Heard her tears even though Nova tried to hide them behind music. Around 2 a.m., Nova slipped into Leora's room and curled into her side like she used to when she was small. Leora stroked her hair gently. You're safe now. Nova nodded, but her voice trembled. I hate cameras. I hate them. I know, Leora whispered. I know you do. I thought I was going to be dragged somewhere. You weren't, Leora murmured. You were never alone. Nova pressed her face into her mom's shoulder. Is he going to get in trouble? Nova whispered. Because it wasn't his fault. Leora hesitated. No, she said softly. He won't get in trouble. Nova exhaled shakily. Good. Leora brushed her thumb across her cheek. Do you want to see him again? Nova swallowed. Not today. Not tomorrow. But, maybe. When I'm not shaking anymore. Okay, Leora whispered. Whenever you're ready. 2 days passed. Then 3. A week. Arlen didn't call. Didn't text. Didn't show up at the cafe. He waited. He respected her space. He gave her silence instead of pressure. But he also did something else. He contacted his legal team. He tracked down the paparazzi responsible. He paid for takedowns. He issued cease and desist letters. He spoke to every outlet that tried to run a story. He threatened lawsuits so severe no journalist dared breathe her name. He did all of it quietly, expecting no acknowledgement. And one evening, Nova found out. Leora was chopping vegetables when Nova burst into the kitchen, holding her phone. "Mom," she said breathlessly. "Did you know?" "Know what?" Leora asked, confused. "Look." Nova held up the screen. There was a journalist posting a rumor thread about me. About us. And then, bam, it disappeared. And now the guy is apologizing publicly because someone threatened to sue him into retirement. Leora stiffened. "Arlen." Nova nodded. "He protected me." The realization hit her chest like a soft, warm weight. Later that night, Nova sat on her bed staring at her phone for a long, long time. Then, slowly, she typed. "Hi." She deleted it. Typed again. "Hey." Deleted. Typed once more. "Thank you." She almost deleted it too, but instead she hit send. 3 seconds later, her phone buzzed. "Arlen, always." "Nova, I'm still scared." "Arlen, I know. But it won't happen again. I promise." "Nova. You can't promise everything." "Arlen, no. But I can promise I'll try with everything I have." Nova read it twice. Then typed. "Can we meet? Somewhere quiet." "Arlen, yes. Anytime. Anywhere." "Nova, tomorrow. The park near the bookstore." "Arlen, I'll be there." And he was. He arrived early again. Hands clasped. Shoulders squared. Trying to look calm and failing slightly. Nova sat beside him on the bench. Neither spoke for a moment. Until she whispered, "Why didn't you call?" "Because I didn't want to overwhelm you," he said. "I didn't want to make your fear worse." Nova nodded. "I'm not angry at you," she said softly. "I just got scared." "I know," he whispered. "Thank you for protecting my name." "You don't need to thank me," he said quietly. "It's what I should have done 18 years ago. I'm doing it now." Nova smiled faintly. "I want to get to know you again." Arlen's breath trembled. "I'd like that." They talked for almost an hour. Nova told him about her art class. Her favorite song. Her fear of thunder. Her dream of traveling someday. Her hatred of cameras. Arlen listened to every word. And as he listened, something softened in him. Something that had been hardened by years of expectation, money, pressure, legacy. He wasn't speaking to the daughter he missed. He was speaking to the daughter he had. And that distinction mattered more than anything. But something else happened too. Leora started to soften. Just a little. It began with a simple gesture. Arlen bought Nova a sketchbook. Nothing fancy. Nothing with gold edges or embossed leather covers. Just a plain, spiral-bound book. But when Leora flipped it over, she saw something scribbled on the inside cover in Arlen's handwriting. "You don't need the world to be loud to be great. Sometimes whispers change more than shouts." Nova had hugged the book to her chest. Leora had felt something warm twist inside her ribs. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. And slowly, cautiously, something resembling a new rhythm formed. Nova visited Arlen twice a week. They sent each other silly memes. Arlen attended her art competitions, quietly, in the back row, pretending he wasn't tearing up. Nova introduced him to ramen noodles. He introduced her to gardening. She laughed at his horrible jokes. He saved every picture she drew for him. And through all of it, Leora watched. She watched the man who hurt her become the man who was trying desperately to heal everything he broke. She watched Nova glow in ways she hadn't seen before, lighter, steadier, happier. She watched her daughter's world expand instead of collapse. But she also watched herself. Her fear began dissolving into something she didn't want to name. Not forgiveness. Something else. Something slower. Something unfamiliar. Something she tried to ignore. One evening, after dropping Nova off at her friend's house, Arlen asked softly, "Can I walk you home?" Leora hesitated. Then nodded. They walked in silence at first. The city was quiet. Streetlights glowed softly. The sound of distant traffic hummed through the night. Both their breaths formed faint clouds in the cool air. "You've changed," Leora said finally. Arlen glanced at her. "Thank you." "It wasn't a compliment," she replied. "It was an observation." He smirked slightly. "Still. I'll take it." She rolled her eyes. "You know, you could have avoided a lot of pain if you'd been this stubborn 18 years ago." "I know," he said. "I think about that every day." She paused at a crosswalk. "Nova likes you," she said quietly. Arlen swallowed. "I'm glad." "She won't say it," Leora continued. "But she does. She looks forward to your meetings." Arlen exhaled, a tiny sound of relief. "I'm trying." She nodded. "I can see that." They kept walking. Then Arlen asked something unexpected. "Can you ever forgive me?" Leora stopped. Slowly, she turned to him. Forgiveness wasn't her language. Not for something this deep. This old. This raw. "I don't know," she said softly. Arlen nodded, accepting it. "That's fair. But," she continued, "I'm not holding on to anger anymore." His breath hitched. "That's more than I deserve," he whispered. They walked again. This time, closer. Time passed. Seasons shifted. And then. Nearly a year after the night he first called, everything changed again. Nova began planning to apply for colleges. She brought home brochures. Made lists. Sketched out campus maps. Spent night after night watching videos of art programs. One evening, she approached Arlen nervously. "I want to apply out of state," she said. "Maybe out of the country." Arlen stiffened slightly. "That's far." "I know." He swallowed. "And what does your mother think?" "She said I should dream big," Nova said. Arlen smiled softly. She would. Nova sat across from him at the cafe table. Her voice turned fragile for a moment. "Would you help me?" she asked. "With the applications? With the portfolio? With the essays?" Arlen blinked. "You want my help?" "I want your honesty," she said. "You're good at that now." He laughed quietly. "I'm trying." "You're doing great," she said. And he smiled in a way Leora would remember forever. Weeks later, Nova got accepted into her dream art school. She screamed so loudly the neighbors knocked on the door asking if someone was being murdered. Arlen cried when he heard. Tried to hide it. Failed miserably. Leora cried too. Quiet tears. Proud tears. And when they all stood together outside the school gates on orientation day, Leora felt something shift permanently. Nova ran ahead, excited and nervous. Arlen stood beside Leora, hands in his pockets. "She's amazing," he whispered. "She is. And she got that from you." Leora blinked. "She got her stubbornness from you," she countered. He chuckled. "Fair." They watched Nova walk toward her future. Arlen inhaled. "Thank you for raising her." Leora swallowed. "I didn't do it alone." "Yes," he whispered. You did. Leora looked at him. Then, quietly. I'm not angry anymore. He met her gaze. Does that mean? It means, she said gently, we don't have to live in the past. He nodded, stunned. And maybe, she continued, we can figure out the future. Slowly. He breathed out, shaky. Slow is fine. Good, she whispered. A soft breeze drifted by. She looked at the skyline. Then at him. Something fragile. Something hopeful. Something possible. It lived in the space between them. And for the first time in 18 years. The story didn't feel unfinished. It felt like the beginning of something new. Before we end this chapter of their lives, if you've stayed with the story this far, like this video. And subscribe for more stories like this. And drop a comment telling us what lesson you're taking from this journey. Their story teaches one thing. Love isn't perfect. People break. People fail. People run. People return. But redemption is real. Forgiveness is possible. And healing is slow, quiet, and deeply human. And sometimes, the second chance you never expected becomes the ending you always deserved.